I believe, as the complainant, Ms. Powers, you go first.
Certainly, thank you. Again, my name is Amy Powers, and I reside at 47 Vinebrook Road. I am a mother of 2 young children, a dog owner, and I do work in healthcare. I want it to be known that I have had a rescue dog in the past that had become aggressive. So I've had experience with this. I am asking for the dog to be removed from the neighborhood, as I don't feel like the Vinebrook community is a place to have a known, unpredictable, dangerous dog. So I discovered the Hollisters adopted Jenna, who was labeled as a diamond in the rough from Buddy Dog on December 17th, 2021. And since that time, it has bit 4 people and 2 dogs. Evidently, a diamond in the rough is a dog for a variety of reasons that has not been adopted in a timely manner or a reasonable amount of time, whether it's due to their breed or social and behavioral issues. It's also my understanding that the owners have pondered euthanizing the dog, and that is documented in the police report entered on 10/20/22, but they have decided against that per my conversation with the animal control officer.
Attorney Cohen, do you have any questions for her?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Ms. Powers, have you been approached by Jenna, the dog?
I have not been approached, no.
And have your children been approached by Jenna, the dog?
No, they have not.
Do you have a dog?
I do.
Has your dog been approached by Jenna?
It has not.
When you say muzzle is not the answer, what is your background in training in dog behavior to make that statement? I mean, muzzles are a $1 billion a year industry, and it's in the Massachusetts state law that one of the options is a muzzle. So why does Amy Powers think that a muzzle won't work?
Well, let's look at human behavior, right? So if you want to, in order to make sure that the community is completely safe, that muzzle needs to go on every single solitary time the dog leaves the house, right? And it needs to be put on appropriately. And if you take your dog out 3 times a day, that's over what, 365 days a year, you're looking at over 1,100 times you have to put a muzzle on a dog.
Okay, good point. Good point. And so that would mean that they've had the dog now for a year. So that would be 1,100 times that my clients have walked their dog, and not a single child has ever been approached by Jenna or scared. Not a single person has ever had Jenna run up on them and attack them. Your numbers of 4 are wrong. So none of these children who are running around the neighborhood in 1,100 opportunities, when Jenna didn't have a muzzle on, she now has a voluntary muzzle on, they put a muzzle on. In 1,100 opportunities, you're talking actually about 2 incidents that happened on their property, and you weren't there, right?
No, I was not there.
Okay.
Nope, but I do
right.
have the police reports.
Thank you. I know you have the police reports. And I would just point out that one of the people you're referencing, it's not a police report. She came forward 6 months after just to say that she was bit, but that she didn't go to the doctor. So we're here tonight about Jenna and about Kate and Peter. So I've come to know them, and I know the things that they're doing with Jenna. And my concern is this evening that we just focus on this dog, not the history of rescue dogs, not anybody else's history of having a rescue dog, but what these 2 people are doing with Jenna. And the incident where a dog got off leash and approached their dog. So this is the July 2022 incident. I mean, it's known with Riley, this golden retriever, and with Jenna, there's just a relative dislike. I mean, they're aware of each other because we do walk past there. But this particular night, I mean, Riley was off leash on his property, but also was supposed to be at least under voice control. I mean, you can't have dogs just leaving their property. So Riley, the golden retriever, leaves his property. Kate and her husband were walking the dog. They can see from a distance Riley's on the property, so they understand it. They take evasive action. They start to cross the street. Still, the owners, whoever was out there with Riley, doesn't control Riley. Riley goes across the street, and Riley gets bit on the snout after some growling. mean, that's what a dog who's being approached might do. I don't think that is terribly unreasonable. They tried to keep Jenna away from all this. They can't account for dogs being off leash when there's a leash on and not being under voice control. Luckily, there were no injuries there. And but so that's an incident is kind of insulting to people who really have incidents, because Jenna was just there with her owners. And then, but the most recent incident that gave rise to tonight, I mean, the problems there are Jenna was tied to a tree, and that with some type of a mechanism that broke. Well, that's not a good way to have a dog outside anyway. If you're going to have a tie out, it's going to be a real tie out that goes into the ground and can swivel. So that was a mistake there, and Kate definitely admits to that mistake. And it happened on the outskirts of their property. There's not an excuse that shouldn't happen either, just like a dog shouldn't get off this property. But luckily, again, no significant injuries. In the person whose finger or hand was bit there, when you intervene in the dog fight, even though all of us will do it to protect our dog, you are not the intended target. You're not, that doesn't mean there's human aggression because your hand gets bit when you're trying to save your dog. So in none of these cases has a human been an intended target in these two incidents. And I just think my clients are already showing commitment to take this serious. Tonight, and you'll hear from their trainers. So they've been going to training, and training is an ongoing process. You don't just say, well, the dog was trained a few months ago, so it must be fine. They know it's an ongoing process. Since this last incident, they've seen their trainer 5 times, and they go to his facility and he socializes the dog. The issue for Jenna is socializing with other dogs. The other dogs are triggers for her. And the thing is, it's not every dog. So it's about how to teach the owners and Jenna to be desensitized to other dogs, and trainers can do that. You know, Ms. Powers said, well, she and her husband did everything they could for their dog. And I understand that, but my clients haven't done everything that can be done yet. There's many tools available to them. So it's too soon to say this dog is certainly never going to be rehabilitated from this trigger it has, that it can't be desensitized to that.
It's pretty standard that whenever we train dogs, they almost always behave better with us than their own owners, primarily because they don't have as much of a history with us, where the only history they have is us training them. So they understand from day one with us that they really have to be disciplined and on their best behavior. And we don't really end the training. In fact, we never consider it finished. But just because they're done training with us doesn't mean they're done training with the owner. We have to really transition to the owners as well and getting the same behaviors. So initially, when they first started working with Jenna around other dogs, I could get the results very well. It was a matter of them getting the results. And now we've gotten to the point where she behaves similarly at our facility as she does with me, just as she does with them around other dogs. As well as their own environment, I personally don't know, because I haven't really walked around their own environment around other dogs. But from what I've seen so far, she behaves just as well with me as she will with them.
And do you have a plan to continue on to provide more training to the owners themselves, or training of the dog and the owners together?
Absolutely. We don't consider the training finished until we're both satisfied with it. I don't think Jenna has actually reached her maximum potential. I think she still has some ways to go. So she can definitely improve. I think she's in a very good spot right now. And same with the Hollisters. I think they're very good at, much better equipped at working with her in terms of controlling her as well. But there's still ways to go, and we're still going to continue training with her.
As part of the training program that you provide, at some point, will you go out to the Hollister's property and work with the dog at their property and in their neighborhood?
Absolutely. We do that already. In fact, I've already done it once with them. Well, I've attempted it once with them. And the issue was there's not always usually people or dogs around to work around. So it's easy for us to work with them in our facility because we always have people and dogs available. But in different environments, it comes down to an issue of whether there are people walking their dogs, which is why I mentioned the park area where we took her to a park near us. And yes, we walked by many dogs and people, and she actually was really well behaved in that instance.
Attorney Cohen, are you sort of waving at me because you want to say something?
Yeah, but I'm trying to be, I'm looking for the raise your hand thing, but there it is. Just before you close it, if I could just say one thing. building on what Attorney Corbo said, in the reports that I'm reading from animal control and the police reports, if there was a bite or scratch or anything, I just keep seeing either it didn't require, to the dogs didn't require any veterinary care, or they chose not to go to the vet, or they did go to the vet, but it was minor. And same with a minor wound to the finger. So I'm seeing minor things. I think if there was and again, my clients tried to pay the vet bills, but they weren't told. Like we don't know how big the vet bills were, or even if they went to the vet. But I think that if they were significant, we would know about that, because that would help the agenda for the people that want to have the dog removed. So I just think that the vet bills are probably relatively insignificant, reflective of what the animal control officer's report says, unless you have something in your packet that is the vet record or something like that. But I haven't seen anything like that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So do we want to declare this dog a dangerous dog or a nuisance dog? Tom?
So with respect for everyone who spoke and shared their experience, we kind of have these two incidents before us in a formal way. So I feel like that's the thing that I would feel obliged to react to. In the past, we've taken usually this in stages and steps. I definitely think we need to impose some sort of conditions of restraint on the dog whenever it's outside of its house. But at this point, based on what was in the two reports we saw, I believe I'm in favor of declaring a nuisance dog and then having a muzzle and on leash requirement at all times outside of their house. That seems like a proportionate response to what we've seen so far in the actual exhibits that were provided.
Other comments on the board? Scott?
I guess I'm inclined to agree with Tom, because we have one of these two incidents in front of us, but we also, unfortunately, this is not our first dangerous dog hearing, right? And we've had dogs in town that were truly dangerous that we've, in one case actually ordered euthanized. So, on the scale of behavior that I've seen over these hearings, this is absolutely requires some action. I'm not quite sure it's at the dangerous dog level, but it's absolutely a nuisance dog. So, as Tom said, inclined to go in stages and, make some recommendations to make sure that if it does act out, that it can't do any real harm, such as a muzzle.
We need to finish our deliberations here. Tom?
I was
You're gonna make a
go ahead
motion?
and make a motion that we declare
you.
this dog a nuisance dog.
Is there a second?
Second.
I think that we have had the full discussion, so I'm going to take the vote. Tom?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye.